Welcome to Mindset Motivation with me, your host, Jabu Zwane. This is 2025, our first session of the year. I hope so far the year has been treating you well. I hope you've got some plans. I hope you're going to have a much better year than you did last year. Today, I want to talk to you actually about some of the biggest mistakes we make to hold ourselves back as far as success is concerned. Like many times at the beginning of the year, people have got goal settings, they've got visions, they've got all sorts of things that they have planned in trying to ensure that they're going to have a great year. But unfortunately, a lot of us don't know where we get things wrong. I find that a lot of times it's not that people lack plans or that sometimes they even lack motivation, but sometimes it is because we don't know where things start to go wrong. And that's what I want to tackle. And one of the biggest mistakes or one of the biggest hindrances to our own success is not learning from our mistakes. Like after you've made mistakes, what do you actually do? Do you sit down and write down the mistakes you've made? And for me, there are three types of ways that we don't learn from mistakes. We don't learn from our own mistakes. We don't learn from other people's mistakes. And thirdly, we don't acknowledge mistakes, whether ours or other people's. Let's start off with not learning from our own mistakes. A lot of times, after we've made mistakes, it does require a degree of humility to say, I have made a mistake. Or after you've made a mistake, do you have the courage to face the mistake and say, what is it that I've missed? What have I not learned? Like we all have to understand that we are limited beings. As we've said many times in this show, that the fact that we've got limited abilities as people means that there's some times where we're going to get certain things wrong. And it requires a mature person, a person that is determined to succeed, to sit down and say, that was a mistake. This is where I made it. This is how I've made it. This is what I've learned from it. And this is what I'm going to do next time to replace that mistake. The second thing is that we not live by ourselves. We live with other people. So we can also learn from other people's mistakes. And once we've learned, again, the same thing. What was the mistake? Where was it made? When was it made? How was it made? What was the impact? And then what is the alternative to that? Because the challenge is this. After you've noticed something is a mistake, you've got to learn a different way of doing it. If you don't learn a different way, you are left with exactly the same mistakes. You're going to repeat the same. And the third thing is that if we don't acknowledge that we've made mistakes, something happens. Ego takes over. And actually, that's one of the reasons why we don't learn from our mistakes, because we have an ego. And the ego wants to insist that your way is the only way. That outside of what you know, it's important for us to learn that there are many things that we don't know. And it requires, again, a degree of humility. And that is an acknowledgement of the fact that we don't know everything for us to learn from those mistakes. The third reason why we end up not succeeding is because we are not consistent. And one of the reasons why we're not consistent is because we don't have a plan, we don't have a goal, we don't have a vision. That many of us just exist. We are sustained by salaries that keep us to exist rather than actually using those salaries to what? To help to achieve our goals, to achieve our plans, and maybe even to achieve the vision. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have a goal, it's like basically you've got absolutely nowhere to go. And anywhere you land is the right place. If you land in a river, it's fine. If you land in some dark room somewhere, it's fine. If you land somewhere on the street and a car hits you, it's fine. Because you know what? You have got absolutely nowhere to go. And it is important for us to have a vision that can be broken down into goals, and then that can be broken down into a plan and the step-by-step on how we're going to get there. But I find that so many of us actually don't have that. And that's part of the reason why we actually end up not succeeding, because there is nothing for us to succeed at, right? And I heard the statement the other day that made me think is that people who have nowhere to go want you to go there with them. And many times people that have nothing to do want you to do nothing with them. Which brings me then to the next reason why most people don't succeed is because we are surrounded by the wrong people. What makes people wrong is that we are surrounded by people who have nowhere to go, who don't have anything to do. But on top of that as well, they're not for wherever you're going. So they're not interested in going with you wherever you're going. Maybe you've got them because they've been friends with you for a long time. Maybe because they are close relatives. And sometimes just simply feel sorry for them. But if you've got somewhere to go, you've got to be very careful who is walking the journey with you. Because people who've got nowhere to go are not working with time. They're not mindful of how they spend their resources. And oftentimes, if you hang around with people, they will spend their time the way they would spend theirs. So if they're wasting their time, they're going to waste yours. They will spend your resources the way that they're spending theirs. So if they're wasting their resources, then they're going to end up wasting your resources. But then there are other people who are also not for whatever you're doing. They don't support you. They don't celebrate you. They don't encourage you. They don't feed you. They don't help you to develop in any way. But you've got them around. For what reason do you have them around? Especially if you are going somewhere yourself. I've made this mistake where I worried about some of the guys that I grew up with and some of the people, and I want to drag everybody with me. Because oftentimes, when you are a person, let's say, who's very empathic or empathetic, you end up wanting to help the entire village. But sometimes some people you're keeping around are not interested in being helped. They're not interested in improving their lives. In fact, it suits them perfectly well that they can keep on leeching off you, working off whatever you've done. Then they've got nothing more to do. But then because you are a person with a good heart, you're nice, you're kind, you're thinking, oh, man, these are my buddies, these are my friends, these are my family members. And you keeping them around. Now, I'm not saying cut people off. I don't believe in that at all. I don't personally do it. But I say that you need to manage certain relationships and understand their positioning in your lives and understand when to connect, when to engage, when to bring them into your sphere, and when to manage that and keep a distance, especially sometimes when you're not there where you need to be. So what does that mean? That means that then you got to find the right people around you. And unfortunately, this is what I found. A lot of the right people we find only in our older age, when we have a plan, when we've got a vision, when we have goals, and we find that our goals and theirs, they match, they connect, and then we can walk a journey together because we can support each other. But unfortunately, so many adults don't know how to build relationships in their adult years. And then I would strongly recommend that you learn how to build relationships when you're older, have the courage to open yourself up with relationships when you're older, and realize that the people that you meet when you're older, when you've got somewhere to go, they relate with you based on the person that you are today. They're going to respect your crafts. They're going to respect your competencies. They don't relate to you based on your history, thinking about you from the point of, I know you from when you were nothing type of thing. They can relate to you based on who you are today. And that allows you then to develop the person that you have become today with a lot more freedom than when you are with people that sometimes you know from a very long time ago. Again, I am not advocating for you to end your old relationships. But I'm simply saying that in terms of the human mindset, in terms of how we are behavior-wise, we tend to formulate habits, relationships based on the history. And if in your history, these people thought you were less than them, even when you're trying to rise, they're going to see you as trying to rise above them, and they may try to discourage you. I don't want to sit on that too long. I want to move on to the next thing. And the next thing is a lack of discipline. And a lack of discipline is because of, again, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a plan, it's very difficult to determine what do you become disciplined for. The goal holds you accountable. It says to you, listen, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need to understand how business works. You need to develop your skills as a business person. You need to get a mentorship. You need to get coached, whatever it is that you are lacking to close the gaps. And this is what helps us then to have discipline. What is discipline again? It is about the actual regular actions you got to do on a daily basis. Like for me as a business person, I know the first thing that I find out is in my industry, what's happening in the morning, whether it be through the news, whether it be through some kind of social media feed. I choose and curate my content to update myself on what's happening in my industry. The second thing, in terms of what's changing, this day we're talking about AI, technology is advancing at a very fast rate. I need to keep up to date. As a professional speaker, even right now, as presenting this show, I know that AI is such that at some point there would be no need for Jabu Zwane to sit here in the front. They could just very easily have my hologram, and I can do it from home, or some kind of avatar can be able to do it. I gotta be aware of all of those things if I want to remain relevant in the industry, so that I can be able to take advantage of that. Because if I'm not, I'm gonna be Kodak'd out, Nokia'd out, or whatever it is that those brands that used to be out there but now no longer there. So it's very, very important that you become consistent. But I'll say in your consistency, though, you got to also become what? Creative, because it's important that you don't continue with the activities that are no longer relevant, that have been outdated, because then you will be outdated. But creativity allows you to introduce new things that you got to adopt into whatever that you're doing, because if you don't do it, you're in trouble. And the other thing, along with consistency as well, is about discipline. And discipline also, a big part of it is delaying gratification. I know I struggled from this. And of course, we are living in in an environment where it's a popcorn culture. Everybody wants something now, immediately, instant gratification. People buy impulsively. People make decisions almost in a moment. I remember now, last year when I went to Las Vegas, everywhere you travel in Las Vegas, they even have drive-through waiting centers. Literally, can be you and your girlfriend in a car, in a drive-through somewhere, they sign. By the time you come out through the drive-through, you're married. This is exactly what's happening today. And so a lot of people then don't have the discipline to delay their gratification. And they want things now. But we all know, if you want something amazing, if you want something big, if you want great success, it takes step by step over a long period of time. And then you need to delay eating from your pockets, put in the money if you're a business person, to get the equipment, to get the branding, to get the marketing going, so that at some point when the business starts to take off, then you can be able to get as much of it out as you possibly can. And the last thing that I want to say, as far as what delays people from becoming successful, is because people don't know themselves. I ask this question all the time. How well do you know yourself? Now think about it in a very practical way. Can you manage what you don't know? Can you lead and direct what you don't know? Can you maximize on what you don't know? Like right now, I don't know what equipment do you have. I don't know what skill you've got. I find that so many of us, because we don't even know what we have so well. Let's say that you are, right now, I'm looking at these cameras and then these gentlemen that are operating the cameras in the background. If they don't know all the features of how the cameras work, how do they use it as a tool to make sure that their work is excellent? And similarly, you must imagine yourself that way, that you are an instrument, that there are a couple of things that you got to know. First of all, you got to understand yourself so that you can manage yourself, so that you can be able to lead yourself. So let me backtrack on that. You cannot be able to lead what you can't manage. You can't manage what you don't understand. You can't understand what you've not fully identified. And so have you ever sat down and unpacked yourself? What are your strengths? What are your gaps? What are your exceptional skills? What are some of the habits that are costing you your success? So many of us, for example, because we don't know our value, we give it away for free. We get exploited. We get underpaid because we don't know our value. And the one thing that I've noticed is this, and I've seen that happen to me as well. Sometimes we undermine what we value so much, and then somebody finds and sees the value in us. But because they can see that we don't know our value, guess what? They exploit us. They'll pay us less. They'll give us nothing. They'll convince us that this is what it's worth. And a big part of it is because we don't know who we are. And my question to you is this: how well do you know yourself? How well do you know your skills? Do you know how much they're worth in the market? Do you know what makes it unique? Because your uniqueness, your authenticity is the biggest component of your currency. It's the most valuable part of your currency. And if you don't understand what makes you unique, what makes you exceptional, what makes you brilliant, what makes you stand out more than anybody else, it's very difficult then for you to have that authentic appeal. There's so much more that I can say about this subject matter, but I want to challenge you to say, if your life is not where you want it to be today, what are some of the habits? What are some of the actions? What are some of the activities that you do on a regular basis that stand in the way of your success? What have you not done today? What have you not done yesterday? What do you know that you're not going to be able to do? Even though you're saying today, I'm going to do it tomorrow, but you know you're not going to do it. But you're saying to yourself, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But tomorrow comes nothing. And then the year comes to an end. You've got more New Year's resolutions, and you still have not achieved anything at all. A big part of this is this. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to be transparent with yourself and say, this is where I'm not doing well. And of course, know what you're doing well so that you can duplicate it, so that you can be able to improve it, so you can maximize on what you're doing well. So it isn't just about beating yourself up for what you're doing wrong, but it's about also knowing what you are doing right. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time. My name is Jabu Zwane. I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. I'm looking forward to unleashing with you. And some of you may not know this. Part of my unleashing that I planned for is that I've actually just published 2 books in 3 months. 2 books in 3 months. And I've just launched one more this past Saturday. And I'm looking forward to actually sharing the journey of my becoming with you, and hopefully in so doing, inspire you to become and to unleash and to achieve the greatest success that you ever have in your life. Thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your programming. Good evening.